It is Wednesday, June 26th, 2019. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. It was a very fun, get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Wednesday. Kind of slow, it started with a traffic jam for me. I was tied up for like 10 minutes over. It really sucked, man, because I knew that everybody was in class already, and they're all warming up, and here I am on this freeway, and it all worked out in the end. I got to roll against some guys that were higher level today, and of course it was very humiliating for some part. I actually managed to pull a couple little surprises out of my hat today and kept people a little more active than I think they're generally accustomed to with me. But yeah, it was a very, very productive session. As far as what we actually went through today, I don't know, it was one of those things where I was so frazzled from having gotten a late start and that kind of thing that I had my brain kind of half in and half out, but nonetheless, I did get in a couple of really good sparring sessions, and they're more a flow roll kind of situation to begin with, but we did kind of step up the gas a tad, and when we did, I found that I wasn't struggling as much as I had been. And I think it was because I really went with the mindset of being more relaxed and just taking the moment as it came, as opposed to trying to anticipate my opponent and trying to get way ahead of him or whatever, but just trying to feel where the pressure was, feel where the pressure was absent, and work with the gaps. And I managed to avoid pretty much every submission attempt. I think I got in kind of trouble once, but I did manage to sustain myself and maintain relative safety. I mean, if you ever could be safe with about 190-pound guy trying to choke you out and break your arm and shit. Anyway, I like I said, I managed to stay pretty safe. Kept myself pretty defensive. Unfortunately, I didn't get as many opportunities to go offensive as I would have liked. But I don't know. I'm kind of a wait and see kind of guy. I like to draw it out a little bit. I like to get you to wear out a little bit before I go in for the kill. But I did do one. I can't remember if it was. I think it might have been Monday. No, I didn't work out Monday evening. I think it was Sunday. Yeah, I did a mean Americana on one of my teammates, and I felt kind of guilty about it because I did exert a bit of muscle to get there. But nonetheless, the setup for it was sound. That he didn't know until I was about 60-70% into it that, oh yeah, that's a setup for an Americana. My arm's in trouble. And then it was a little bit too late to react to it by then. But like I said, I was a bit too defensive today, and I don't know if that was just my assumption that the guys that I was with were just going to stomp all over me, or the reality that they were really stomping all over me, and I really, didn't have that much game to threaten them. But I know that I whipped out a surprise or two, because I did get some interesting reactions from it. And I do feel like I've improved, because I've rolled with both of these guys before, and they're both very, very skilled men or players. Period. I don't think it really would matter if they were men or women. If they rolled as good as they do, I think it would be just the same situation. I'd still be primarily defensive and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, like I said, they're both very good guys, and I had a lot of difficulty, man. Just a lot of difficulty. I think some of my solutions to the issues they were presenting were a little less efforted than previous times that I've rolled with them, but nonetheless, I kept it pretty together. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down into some music, and I've been playing the shit out of Bloodlust by Body Count, and I want to kind of expand a little bit further into some of their other stuff here. And I like playing that one, but it's not really the right time for it yet. Here we go. Institutionalized, because the markets be cray today. Institutionalized 2014 body count. First dance. Here on Coin Metal. And that was Killing Joke with Seeing Red. Alright. As far as what we're going to get into today, I got a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not entirely sure where I want to go first, so I think I'm going to start it with this joke article that I saw. And I probably shouldn't call it a joke article because it sounds too much like reality to call it that. But I found this today on my Twitter feed. It's coinblockdesk.com. Coinblockdesk.com. Interesting. And so here it goes. Blockstream launches Layer 2 product for quicker distribution of talking points. And this is authored on June 24th, 2019. Let me see if it gives us an attribution. No. But it does give us a hand cache address to give it to, so you know who this is slanting towards. But nonetheless, let's get into it because it was funny when I was starting to read it. Anyway. Following the complete flop of Lightning and Liquid networks, Blockstream BS is launching its third attempt at a Layer 2 networking product known as Liquid BS, a tool for BTC Twitter fans to spread up-to-date talking points with each other in a quicker manner. CoinBlockDesk was at the announcement in Pyongyang where BS CEO Adam Back let the world know about the exciting new product. Blockstream, or BS as we like to call it, is about helping things grow. We think you need lots of BS to help BTC grow, and that's been our motto from day one. Spread more BS and keep BTC growing. But we found a blockage in the way of our precious BS that keeps coming up time and time again, and that's having everyone on the same page with the same talking points. Mr. Back pulled out his iPhone and opened Twitter, holding the screen up to the audience. Here, look at this half-wit Peter McCormick. He's on Twitter today telling people Bitcoin doesn't need any apps built for it. I mean, that's literally our business model, building apps for BTC. We need a quicker way to make sure everyone in the BS ecosystem stays on point. So we built a new messaging app that you connect via your Twitter, and we can then broadcast to you all the latest BS talking points. A member of the press asked Mr. Beck why they didn't just use a Twitter group chat or DMs. After a few moments of quiet discussion between Mr. Beck and Samson Mao, Mr. Mao then took the microphone. Look, we didn't actually know that feature existed. We manage so many Twitter accounts that we generally use Black Hat software for posting to thousands of accounts at once. But we're going to press on anyway with our new app. We don't think people should be spamming the Twitter network with group chats or DMs anyway. Twitter is the only way for valuable public-facing tweets. Anyone who uses Twitter differently to how we describe or prescribe is a spammer. Mr. Bat continued, quote, also, we do charge a small fee for using our Liquid BS, of course, and we're confident that everyone who loves BTC will download this app and start opening channels directly with our other BTC users. Once everyone has opened around 20 direct channels with other BTC Twitter users in our app, we should have the ability to rapidly share permeable price-rising memes, talking points, edited videos, proof Craig Wright isn't Satoshi, and lots of other valuable info that will keep everyone on the same page and save you from having to think for yourself. We want BTC talking points to be decentralized and quicker than ever. We think BTC investors are really going So you can tell this is like obviously slanted or whatever, but I think the humorous parts to me were the reflections of actual stuff going on with Bitcoin. And one of the things is that the fees have been going up. I could have swore I predicted that, and I could have swore some people actually said that was a goal of theirs at one point. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? The higher the fees are, the less people want to use it. That's how it goes. I mean, that's how it went last time. I don't expect it to be any different this time. But anyway, there was some other price action going on, and I see that's kind of where I'm betwixt. I don't know if I want to go too much in the price action and some of the events that were surrounding that, or this other thing, ransomwares and whatnot. Because fuck it. You know what? I'm just going to take it in a row, and we're just going to go with it that way. So the next one I got up in line here is, let's see here. Oh, this one. Yeah. No, not that one. This one. Bitcoin falls by $1,400 after crash of major crypto exchange Coinbase. And this is by Max Body, so yes, penis. And let's see. This is authored approximately 5 hours ago. Bitcoin's BTC price fell by $1,400 within minutes after a crash of United States-based cryptocurrency trading platform Coinbase. Coinbase first reported it was investigating an issue in which its API and website were not functioning properly at 1:47 p.m. PDT on its status website. According to the daily chart of Bitcoin price on Coin360, Bitcoin's price and market cap began to plummet around 1:25 p.m. PST, just minutes before Coinbase's first announcement. By 2:13 p.m., Coinbase reported that it had identified the problem and was implementing the fix. By 2:38 p.m., the problem was reported to be resolved, and Cointelegraph correspondent with a Coinbase account checked to confirm that the site was operational. Today's crash follows a degraded performance report on June 25th and another crash incident on June 24th, both of which were resolved within an hour of reporting. The crash comes on the heels of today's rally, in which Bitcoin surpassed both the 12,000 and 13,000 price marks in a matter of hours. At price time, Bitcoin seems to be recovering slightly from the dip, up 0.71% in the past hour, and still up 9.48% on the day, according to data from CoinMarketCap.com. Bitcoin is currently trading at $12,690. So yeah, and you know what? It looks like there's some comments on this thing. Let's see. Adam Kuchek says, "Boring fudge is by already easier than making silly posts with crappy headlines." AR says, "Agreed." Ubade your Riemann says $100. John Dunagoog, what a crash. We haven't seen prices like these since yesterday. That's fucking crypto for you. AR says it's already going back up. Jose Milan says, for some apparent reason, when I transfer my Ethereum Classic from Abra to Coinbase, it's taking forever. I noticed it needed about 5,676 confirmations in order for me to get my Ethereum Classic confirmed. Holy shit. Jose, the ETC rules at CB are rubbish. I sent ETC to CB once from my hardware wallet when it spiked to $12 in order to sell some, and it took nearly a day to clear. It serves them and the big API traders as they make big fees not a small guy's best. Yeah. Yeah, actually Coinbase rapes everybody, so, whatever. Kryptonite says, your own story says the price drop was 22 minutes before the outage, not after, so the headline and the lead paragraph are false. I'm sure there's some sort of correlation there. Let's see here. John Dozier says, not at all surprised Coinbase sucks, plain and simple. Amateurs, I learned my lesson after they mistreated me the third time, and I had enough of their lies. So glad I left, because I only hear it has gotten worse. Yeah, they're one of the very few exchanges out there that's got a fucking bit license, and look at how they're acting. Bittrex, on the other hand, they're fucking awesome, and fucking NYDFS won't give them a bit license. So what does that really tell you? What does it really tell you? It tells you that Coinbase sucks, and it doesn't matter if you got a fucking NYDFS fucking bit license, you're still gonna suck. Anyway, continuing on. Let's see, Darren Appleby says, Bitcoin market manipulation? Could very well be, you never know, dude. Audie McClintock says, and this is a reply to Darren, the whales, aka drug cartels, are the ones bouncing BTC around for laundering, and is the reason BTC has the highest correlation with Monero. Small money has little to do with this rally. It's all manipulation by whales, aka criminals. I don't agree. I don't agree at all. Alan Siegel says, what does Coinbase's downtime have to do with the universal crash of the currencies in question? Isn't this just coincidence? Sometimes things happen without a conspiracy. In this case, I think there may be a teeny tiny bit of relation, but it's only because of the interdependence of Coinbase and other organizations out there that buy and sell Bitcoin. And such as your institutional players, man, they all want to fucking take their profit too, And who do you think gets their fucking order in first? The guy moving in, $3 million worth of Bitcoin, or you? You. I mean, he gets it. That's pretty much plain and simple right there. Let's see. Ruiz says, I was trading online during the events and can confirm that Coinbase crashed 4 minutes after the dip. I managed to sell for a long time and rebought the bottom through Coinbase. Coinbase only crashed after the bottom was reached. It was good to stack some more BTC. In my opinion, it just crashed because of the panic sell. They should spend some more profits with better software auditing and servers for FOMO or panic sale. Yeah, there you go. And Chris says, yep, I was on Coinbase at the time as well. The above description of what happened is correct. The massive panic selling is what crashed Coinbase. Robinhood also cannot handle the volume and crashed as well. I would say that there were additional factors there. You always have to look at the mempool, alright? Because if the mempool spikes, which it did today, and it spiked hard. I don't know where it's at today, but the last time I checked, it was up there 55,000 fucking K. I mean, 55,000 transactions. And so, it gets up there to 100K again. You're going to be seeing like $7 to $10 transaction fees and people freaking the fuck out. And I mean, that'll be transaction fees on the blockchain. When it gets out to fucking Coinbase, it's probably going to be a $30 transaction fee, and you're going to take that in the short ones, and you're going to go, what the fuck was that? Ow, my ass. I mean, seriously, it's getting kind of sad with regard to Coinbase. I took it in the shorts. The last time I transacted with them, it was a fucking $30 fee, and I'm like, okay, that's enough. Right there. For one thing, I know that none of the transfer that I've done right here actually costs that on either side of it. The fact of the matter is there is no reason for it to. There's absolutely no reason for it to cost that much money to move my money around. And I don't care about the volume. I mean, especially when I can look on the blockchain and see a transaction for, tens of millions of dollars getting passed through for, $5. No big whoop, $5. And it's going to one wallet too. Give me a break. So yeah, Coinbase, I think what happened is this, that people saw that spike, they got the taste at 13,000 and they said, okay, I want to take some profit. And so they tried to sell. Well, that itty bitty 1 megabyte block got filled really fucking quick. That created backlog. Then the RBF kicked in and the fucking price war started for the block space because everybody wanted their money out right now. And the fucking fees got too high and Coinbase is like, okay, shut down ops. We're going to wait for the fucking transaction volume to get lower and people to stop cashing out so hard, and then we'll allow transactions to go through. That's what it feels like to me, because I can imagine if the fees jumped $1 or something like that, that freaked them the fuck out. I'm sure it went even in higher than that, because initially the fees always jump higher. If you get one of these $1,000 transitions like we got today, that's the first thing that happens, is when people try and take profit from that, it sucks up all the available block space. They start fucking bidding more for the block space to get their money out, and the fees go through the fucking roof. Now, it'll average out over time, because the transaction volume will get cut down with people's transactions just getting bumped. They wait for 2 fucking days and they just cancel the transaction or some shit like that. But yeah, this is to be expected, and we are going to run into it again and again and again until we get bigger blocks on the Bitcoin blockchain. This idea of trying to extort everybody into using it like some sort of big global SWIFT network, it's going to cause these problems again and again and again and again and again, and people are going to get sick of dealing with it. It'll be like, big whoop-de-doo, we made quite a bit of money, but then we missed out on all this other money by allowing people to transact it in Bitcoin. If we'd have done it in Bitcoin Cash or Ethereum or something that can handle the transaction load, we would have made a lot more money. And so they'll just drop support for Bitcoin. I know some people don't think that'll happen, but I'll tell you what, if those fucking prices get too onerous, that's exactly what's going to fucking happen. Sad, sad, sad. I find it especially sad because, I had opportunities to use Bitcoin back when it actually functioned as intended, and you fucking people would just be blown away today. You would be blown away. You'd be like, what? The transaction happened in less than a fucking hour? What? Happened less than 20 minutes? I remember if it took longer than 10 minutes, I started freaking out. So, I can't even imagine people, waiting an hour or two for a confirmation. Fuck. It just it seems to me like they've been sold a bill of goods, especially with currencies that'll move a lot faster and will confirm a lot quicker. And I've said this multiple times before, that I think that in the long run, that's really what's going to win out, is that if I can move the money around as frictionlessly as possible with as few people to account to as possible, that's how I'm going to fucking do it. Every day you got more people trying to reach into your pocket and, fee this and license that, and fuck you. I don't want to support that shit. I'd rather want you go through a budgetary shortfall and get realistic about exactly what you should be doing in your station, and maybe you don't need 3 layers of fucking assistance, and maybe you can't afford that ultra luxurious fucking healthcare plan or whatever. Might have to trim a little bit of fat. That's what they have to do in the private sector. So, You know? None of this $1,200 coffee mug bullshit. I know I'm kind of crossing my memes there, but it's all due to the same thing. If you guarantee the money's coming in, the quality of the outcome diminishes. And the more guaranteed the funding is, the worse the results can be, and the higher the tolerance for bullshit there is. You know, and I mean, we are living in a period of, like, I want to say 40, maybe even 50 years of complete fiscal insanity. And I think probably the most sane reaction to it so far has been Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, where we're just like, okay, I'm done playing your game. We got to stash the monetary value somewhere that is not contingent upon your ability to issue more of them. You know, we got to break free of that, because you're doing it willy-nilly, and it's really fucking over the rest of us. Anyway, as far as our next article that goes, we got through that one, and I don't know if I want to go into that one yet. No, I want to kind of stash that one, because we covered the shit out of CSW the other day, and I guess he's finally taken the stand or something like that, but I don't know. You know, I don't want to give him any more airtime, man. That guy's like, there's already enough of him in reality. We don't need to create more of him on here. We got rid of that one. We did that one the other day. More Craig Wright crap. There. That's the problem. I end up stashing these tabs, and I don't close them, and then I end up going back over them again. Anyway, this is one that, kind of digs to the source, the reason why cryptocurrencies even exist. And my assertion that regulation does not help anything. You know, if anything, it makes markets far more opaque, because they hide the information you want to know, and they provide false information just to keep things rolling. And so here it is. It's on ZeroHedge.com. Merrill Lynch caught criminally manipulating precious metals market, quote, thousands of times over 6 years. Now think about that. Over 6 years. If regulations are worth a shit, you should not be able to get away with it for 1 year, much less 6. So why anybody thinks regulation is going to bring anything good to crypto, I have no fucking idea. Continuing on, this is by Tyler Durden, authored 6/25/2019 at 1924 hours. Remember when it was pure tinfoil hat conspiracy theory to accuse one or more banks would aggressively, compulsively, and systematically manipulating the precious metals, i.e. gold and silver markets? We do. After all, we made the claim over and over, while demonstrating clearly just how said manipulation was taking place, often in real time. Well, it's good to be proven correct, even if it's just years after the fact. On Tuesday after the close, the CFTC announced that Merrill Lynch Commodities, and we're going to click on that announcement. Merrill Lynch Commodities, MLCI, a global commodities trading business, agreed to pay $25 million to resolve the government's investigation into a multi-year scheme by MLCI precious metals traders to mislead the market for precious metals futures contracts traded on the COMEX, Commodity Exchange, Inc. Let's see here. The announcement was made by Assistant Director in charge William F. Sweeney Jr. of the FBI's New York field office. In other words, if the Merrill Lynch Commodities Group was an individual, he would have gotten ye olde perp walk. As MLCI itself admitted, beginning in 2008 and continuing through 2014, Precious metals traders employed by MLCI scheme to deceive other market participants by injecting materially false and misleading information into the precious metals futures market. They did so in the now traditional market manipulation way by placing fraudulent orders for precious metals futures contracts that, at the time the traders placed the orders, they intended to cancel before execution. In doing so, the traders intended to, quote, spoof or manipulate the market by creating the false impression of increased supply or demand, and in turn to fraudulently induce other market participants to buy and to sell futures contracts at quantities, prices, and times they otherwise likely would not have done so. Over the relevant period, the traders placed thousands of fraudulent orders. Of course, since we are talking about a bank, and since banks are in charge of not only the DOJ and virtually every other branch of government, not to mention the Fed, nobody will go to jail, and MLCI entered into a non-prosecution agreement and agreed to pay a combined and measly $25 million in criminal fines, restitution, and forfeiture of trading profits. That probably wasn't even 1 day out of that 6 years. Under the terms of the NPA, MLCI and its parent company, Bank of America, have agreed to cooperate with the government's ongoing investigation of individuals and to report to the department evidence or allegations of violations of the Wired Fraud Statute, Securities and Commodities Fraud Statute, and anti-spoofing provision of the Commodity Exchange Act in BAC's Global Markets Commodities business, whose function is to conduct wholesale principal trading and sales of commodities. Laughably, MLCI and BAC also agreed to enhance their existing compliance program and internal controls where necessary and appropriate to ensure they are designed to detect and deter, among other things, manipulative conduct in BAC's Global Markets Commodities business. Translation: it will be much more difficult to catch them manipulating the market next time. No, it won't. They always get arrogant about it and start waving their dick around. The department reached its resolution based on a number of factors, including MLCI's ongoing cooperation with the United States, which means the DOJ must have had the bank dead to rights, with many traders potentially ending up in jail, and MLCI and BAC's remedial efforts, including conducting training concerning appropriate market conduct and implementing improved transaction monitoring and communication surveillance systems and processes. Translation: no longer boasting about market manipulation on semi-public chat boards. Bullshit, they'll do it anyway. The Commodities Futures Trading Commission also announced a separate settlement with MLCI today in connection with related parallel proceedings. Under the terms of the resolution with the CFTC, MLCI agreed to pay a civil monetary penalty of $11.5 million, along with other remedial and cooperation obligations in connection with any CFTC investigation pertaining to the underlying conduct. As part of the investigation, the department obtained an indictment against Edward Bases and John Pacilio, two former MLCI precious metals traders, in July 2018. Those charges remain pending in the U.S. District Court for the North District of Illinois. This case was investigated by the FBI's New York field office. Trial attorneys Ankush Kardori and A.V. Perry of the Criminal Division's Fraud Section prosecuted the case. The CFTC also provided assistance in this matter. Oh, and for anyone asking if they will get some of their money back for having been spoofed and manipulated by Bank of America and countless other banks into selling and buying positions, that would have eventually made money? The answer is, of course, no. The full prosecution agreement and attachments is below. PDF link. Yeah. And I think I have that right here. Let's check and verify. Let's see here. Ronald. Maybe not. I don't know. I got the announcement here by the DOJ, but I don't know if this is all of it though. Let's check and verify. No, this is multiple pages. Let's see. PDF link. And statement of facts. Blah, blah. Oh shit! It's 23 pages. Let's just go with the announcement by the DOJ. And so yeah, this is on justice.gov, Department of Justice, for immediate release, Tuesday, June 25th, 2019. Merrill Lynch Commodities Inc. enters into corporate resolution and agrees to pay $25 million in connection with deceptive trading practices executed on U.S. commodities markets. Merrill Lynch Commodities Inc., MLCI, a global commodities trading business, has agreed to pay $25 million to resolve the government's investigation into a multi-year scheme by MLCI precious metals traders to mislead the market for precious metals futures contracts traded on the Commodities Exchange Inc., COMEX, announced Attorney General Brian A. Benskowski? Wow. Of the Justice Department Criminal Division and Assistant Director in charge, William F. Sweeney, Jr. of the FBI's New York Field Office. According to MLCI's admissions, beginning by at least 2008 and continuing through 2014, precious metals traders employed by MLCI schemed to deceive other market participants by injecting materially false and misleading information into the precious metals futures market. They did so by placing fraudulent orders for precious metals futures contracts that, at the time the traders placed the orders, they intended to cancel before execution. In doing so, the traders intended to spoof or manipulate the market by creating the false impression of increased supply or demand, and in turn to fraudulently induce other market participants to buy and to sell futures contracts at quantities, prices, and times that they otherwise would not have done so. That they likely would not have done so. Over the relevant period, the traders placed thousands of fraudulent orders. MLCI entered into a non-prosecution agreement, NPA, and agreed to pay a combined $25 million in criminal fines, restitution, and forfeiture of trading profits. Under the terms of the NPA, MLCI and its parent company, Bank of America Corporation, have agreed to cooperate with the government's ongoing investigation of individuals and to report to the department evidence or allegations of violations of the Wire Fraud Statute, Securities and Commodities Fraud Statute, and anti-spoofing provision of the Commodities Exchange Act in BAC's Global Markets Commodities business, whose function is to conduct wholesale principal trading and sales of commodities. MLCI and BAC also agreed to enhance their existing compliance program and internal controls where necessary and appropriate to ensure that they are designed to detect and deter, among other things, manipulative conduct in the BAC's Global Markets Commodities business. The department reached this resolution based on a number of factors, including MLCI's ongoing cooperation with the United States and the MLCI's and BAC's remedial efforts, including conducting training concerning appropriate market conduct and implementing improved transaction monitoring and communication surveillance systems and processes. The Commodities Future Trading Commission, CFTC, announced a separate settlement with MLCI today in connection with a related parallel proceeding. Under the terms of the resolution with the CFTC, the MLCI agreed to pay approximately $25 million, which includes a civil monetary penalty of $11.5 million, as well as restitution and disgorgement, with restitution and disgorgement credited for any such payments made to the department. In addition, the CFTC order imposes upon MLCI other remedial and cooperation obligations in connection with any CFTC investigation pertaining to the underlying conduct. As part of the investigation, the department obtained an indictment against Edward Bases and John Pacilio, two former MLCI precious metals traders, in July of 2018. Those charges remain pending in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois. It's United States vs. Edward Bases and John Pacilio, 18 CR 48, North Dakota and Illinois, I guess. All defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. This case was investigated by the FBI's New York field office, trial attorneys, blah, 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 blah. Alright. So there you have it. Regulation did not do shit. You know, the fact that it went on for 6 years, and as a matter of fact, there's implications here pointing to the fact that this is an ongoing investigation, that they're still investigating people concerning this case after 6 years. Meaning it's still an ongoing criminal enterprise, and they're probably cut in on it in some way, you know. But the thing that kills me about this is that this $25 million does not represent anything. I mean, we're talking about billions of dollars worth of trades and market action that was going on based on the information that was feedback from those trades. You know, I mean, people look at the markets and they make their decisions based on the information available. Well, if the information is manipulated, they're going to make errant decisions no matter what. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And as far as where to go, I think a little bit of Megadeth. Yeah. And as far as what song, Peace Sells. A little bit of Rollins Band there. Alien Blueprint. Yeah, we were having some connection issues a little bit earlier during the music break. My deepest apologies. You know, it's one of the things about living out here in the boonies. You know, sometimes the Wi-Fi just craps out on you and says fuck you. So anyway, we're going to try and survive it anyway. And I got this next article here, and we talk a lot about hacking and hackery and security and all that other stuff. And I found this article, and it piqued my interest. And so here we go. It's on Zero Hedge again by Tyler Durden, authored 6/26/2019, 22:45. Suspected state-backed hackers transformed telecom giant into giant spy system. On what has been an otherwise relatively slow news day as President Trump heads to Japan for this weekend's G20 summit, the Associated Press has joined Reuters in publishing an expose about a cyber espionage campaign that might just have its origins in Beijing. According to the AP, which sourced its story from a presentation given by Head of Cyber Season, a global cybersecurity contractor brought in by telecom firms to trace the source of another potentially major breach. a group of possibly state-backed hackers infiltrating a system of unnamed telecoms giant to spy on a group of unnamed VIPs, call records, location data, and other information. The hack essentially allowed the hackers to track the movements and activities of the targets, and because the hack occurred at the service provider level, it would be virtually impossible for the 20 or so end-user targets to discover the breach on their own. In essence, the hackers were able to transform the targeted firm into a quote, global surveillance system. Quote, CyberSeason Chief Executive Lior Div said because customers weren't directly targeted, they might never discover that their every movement was being monitored by a hostile power. The hackers have turned the affected telecoms into, quote, a global surveillance system, Div said in a telephone interview. Those individuals don't know they were hacked because they weren't. Div, who presented his findings at CyberWeek conference in Tel Aviv, provided scant details about who was targeted in the hack. He said CyberSeason had been called in to help an unidentified cellular provider last year and discovered that the hackers had broken into the firm's billing server where the call records are logged. The hackers were using their access to extract the data of, quote, around 20 customers, Div said. And here's some food for thought. CyberSeason cautioned that even though all signs of who the culprit might be pointed to APT-10, the MSS-backed hacker crew that orchestrated China's Operation Cloudhopper, the campaign that reportedly infiltrated 8 of the world's largest enterprise tech companies, they were reluctant to conclusively blame APT-10 for the intrusions. Why? Because these signs could have been manufactured to point to APT-10, even though the real culprit could have been another government or criminal organization, or maybe even the infamous 400-pound basement dweller that Trump once joked about. Quote, who might be behind such hacking campaigns is often a fraught question in a world full of digital false flags. CyberSeason said all the signs pointed to APT-10, the nickname often applied to a notorious cyber espionage group that U.S. authorities and digital security experts have tied to the Chinese government. But Div said the clues they found were so obvious that he and his teams sometimes wondered whether they might have been left on purpose. Quote, I thought, hey, just a second, maybe it's somebody who wants to blame APT-10, he said. Since CyberSeason was contracted by a large telecom firm to carry out its investigation, it couldn't say for sure whether the targets of the hacking campaign had been alerted to the intrusion. Whether to notify the targets, they said, had been left to their client to decide. The firm had said it had been in contact with a handful of law enforcement agencies about the intrusions, but again they refused to reveal exactly who had been brought into the loop. Whoever hired CyberSeason would be remiss if they didn't disclose the intrusion, since failing to alert their investors could be construed as securities fraud. But if the recent past is any guide, remember Equifax? Companies that have been the victim of large-scale hacks are often reluctant to disclose it for fear of market backlash. But if China is behind the hacks, it would give the Trump administration one more reason to hold off on striking a trade deal on the grounds that Beijing simply can't be trusted to end its sweeping cyber espionage campaign. Yeah. Now let's get into some of the comments here. Beijing expat says, thanks Tylers, I can appreciate that you need to earn some shekels, but really, it is just as likely that an important ally is behind this, and the timing right before the G20 takes place makes me suspect that the whole thing is complete bullshit. Oh yeah? Yeah, could very well be. Just the Tip says, I spent an hour and a half at the outdoor gun range just east of Fort Smith this morning and had about as much fun as one can have while being fully clothed. Gripping my Chiappa is sweet, and the report from that 357 is piercing, and that means ear protection is required, not optional. I bet they heard me in Van Buren. I digress. So, Tel Aviv controls Langley, controls Beijing, or does Tel Aviv compete with Langley while competing with Beijing? I'm not planning on going back to the gun range for another 2 weeks. Plans change. AP story says, and this is by grow_DFD. The AP story says, Cyber Season said all the signs point to App 10. App 10 is a Chinese hacking group tied to the Chinese government. This is all it takes. Companies are fleeing China in droves. Why should they risk dealing with a country bathed in accusations of cyber theft? Their Chinese workforces will be dismissed. Maybe the dismissed employees can find work by forming more Chinese hacking groups like Apt 10. Oh, and Bo Sox fan 1971 says the same can be said about the U.S. NSA. Don't be naive. Damn Skippy. Grow_DFD says yes. Go move your company to China. Abundant cheap labor and the potential of entering the huge Chinese market. Beijing Expat says, is there a hijacking group not tied to China or Russia? Probably not. Platitudipus says, I don't believe anything pertaining to nefarious actors without thinking. The most likely suspect is my own government. Sad to say, but they brought it on themselves. When citizens no longer trust their government, things get dicey. Our founding fathers knew this. Damn Skippy. Frito says, who would do such things by deception? Bosox fan 1971 says, 6 letters, starts with an M and ends with a D. No, that's too many letters. Grow DFD says, Maryland, too many letters. Great Uncle says, LOL hacked. What happened was the spy matrix got turned on us is all. Oops, pressed the wrong button too early. Give it a few years and everyone's phone will be tracked in real time, pinpointing you within 20 feet or so. Actually, I would go so far, Great Uncle, as to suggest that's already going on right now, and all of your microphones and all of your cameras are currently recording and broadcasting and all that other business, and the illusion that there is any time when it's not actually recording is just the fact that it's not you controlling or deciding when it records or what it's recording. That's it. You know, you clicking some buttons on it. Otherwise, the thing's constantly recording. And continuing on, Coldfire says, nice conspiracy theory. Yen Cross says, suspected hackers, LOL, NSA, CIA, FBI, etc. Damn Skippy. Baron Von Bud says, the telecom system is a huge spy system on everyone. Every call is machine transcribed per Bill Binney. So some VIPs get hacked, and it's a bad thing? No, everybody getting hacked. Petro Yuan says Operation Talipot. That's interesting. Pitt says at this point, the telecoms and the tech sector more broadly are so full of H-1Bs and so devoid of quality U.S. citizen engineers that it's really anyone's guess what is really going on. The loss of technical talent in the sector, while top-quality STEM workers are left sitting at home on their couches, is astonishing in the United States. That's very true. And then we have, quote, security firms that put out a lot of propaganda merely to advance their own sales agenda rather than in response to legitimate threats. Cough, fire eye, cough. I agree. Let's see here. Let's get into this one. Total Machine Fail says, there are all kinds of red flags all over this. The paranoia push is a classic bait and build technique for corporations looking to increase sales and revenue. But the paranoia and delusion of everybody is spying on everybody agencies has the stupidity and idiocy constantly reaching for new lows. It's like it's all conjecture, nothing definitive or provable, but it points in whatever direction is convenient for sales, marketing, politics, profits, etc. Damn right, man. I would argue that that's partly a product of the financialization of pretty much everything. You know, that's pretty much it. You make it worth money and people want to steal it. And that's about it for the comments that we're going to get into on this one. But yeah, watch out for your own bunghole. You know, lie to the telecoms. You know, that way the information that anyone gets when you're hacked or they are hacked is all a bunch of bullshit. It's not worth anything to anybody. And I mean, really, that's the way to go about it. And so I got this next one here, and it's by Barbara Kay, The Rise of Stegware. And this is actually a little bit old. It's from May 27th, 2019, but I do want to read it anyway, only because this is something that we'll probably either see in the future or continue to see, and it's on www.infosecurity-magazine.com. The Rise of Stegware. Stegware seems to be the newest gimmick for cyber criminals. Using steganography, the practice of hiding malicious code within an image, video, or otherwise innocuous file, hackers have found yet another way to get malware past security tools. Steganography itself is an ancient discipline. Its early use has been documented as far back as 440 BC, when a Greek ruler sent a warning to his allies shaved into the head of one of his slaves. But now, cyber criminals have seized it as a way to stealthily attack their targets. By hiding malicious code in the file types that aren't analyzed by standard structured data-oriented security tools, attacks can avoid the notice of traditional anti-malware and gateway analysis systems. This method of concealment is invisible to the human eye, but software can read it. This allows an attacker to inject a seemingly benign picture or sound file into a target's computer and activate it once they're past their target's defenses. Most recently, the Ocean Lotus Group has been spotted using .png image files to conceal Deans and Remy backdoor loaders. Another campaign has spread Pawload malware using steganography to launch fileless attacks. The Cardinal Rat has also been scurrying into networks embedded into bitmap images. Steganography has reached a peak in recent months, with a number of actors exhibiting a variety of different tactics. In many cases, attackers will hide code in picture files, concealing their own code within the pixels of an image. Social media has been notably used as a command and control for Stegware, with images and tweets sending commands which activate the malware on an infected device. In other cases, steganography has been used to exfiltrate data. The most notable case in recent memory is that of Qing Zheng, a Chinese-American engineer who stole industrial secrets from his employer, General Electric, and smuggled them into his personal email account, hidden in binary code of an image of a sunset. Software that protects from such data leaks is often incapable of spotting the getaway because, much like malware analysis tools, they are unable to read the data being stolen. Steganography might be a new tactic for most cyber criminals, but it's still a small part of their much larger strategy that relies heavily on stealth. The better they can outwit perimeter security, the more effectively they can get into an enterprise's critical data and systems. Of course, the real key here for enterprises isn't a renewed focus on endpoint and gateway detection features, it's a change in mindset. In many ways, we are still wedded to the fortress mindset of security, which states that if your walls are high enough, you can face down any threat. That may have been true once, but in the long years since that mindset made sense, cyber criminals have been busy making trebuchets, grappling hooks, invisibility cloaks, and guard disguises to get inside the fortress. Steganography is just one technique. Many newer techniques piggyback on legitimate traffic and applications to ride inside. For example, antivirus engines rely heavily on the detection of malware in files through blacklists and signatures. A match means the AV engine then blocks the file from download, installation, or execution. Newer fileless attacks, which made up 35% of all attacks last year, according to the Ponemon Institute, avoid that detection technique entirely. Powerware, for example, uses legitimate Microsoft programming languages and runs entirely in memory, never creating suspicious files and appearing as though it's merely a normal function within their host victim. Attackers will often use double extensions to... double extensions, where are they? Oh, what the fuck, I lost it. Exfiltrate data, blah, blah, blah. Of course, the real key here for enterprises isn't a renewed focus on blah, blah, blah. I think we already covered that. And we covered that. Newer fileless attacks, which made up 35% of all attacks last year, according to Ponemon Institute, avoid the detection instrument entirely. Attackers will often use double extensions to hide their intentions and outwit security defenses. When a user decides to download a phishing attachment labeled updateaccountlist.exe.png, Windows will only access the PNG part of the file. It ignores the preceding exe executable, which launches the malware. Businesses and browsers that use encryption give them more disguise options. Attackers are implementing many of the attack stages by tunneling within approved business traffic. It's not just tunneling inside, it's communicating back to command and control, moving around inside, and carrying the treasure outside. With such determined adversaries, the modern security model must assume the attacker will penetrate the castle. This is a long-standing idea of defense in depth. When the first line fails, the second and third lines stand ready for action. Enterprises have to enable proactive visibility detection and response throughput throughout the fortress. My apologies. Including the castles and the cloud. Technically, that means visibility that goes beyond inspecting the north-south corridor of traffic coming in and out, to monitor the internal east-west corridor too. Modern forms of searchlights and patrols are privileged account, device and application monitoring, where unusual behavior and other activities received prompt and targeted attention from the security operations team. In addition, encrypted traffic analysis lights up attempts to hide within standard approved business activities. This full spectrum of visibility and detection will allow you to spot the later stages of an attack. By capturing the evidence as it happens, you can also respond the right away, perhaps avoiding the coup de grace, where all the real damage to data and systems is done. The attackers, whether you know it or not, have already made it past the walls, and they're maneuvering via dark corners where most enterprises don't look. Stegware is merely the newest stage in a long-term development. Attacks getting quieter and ever more creative at slinking past solutions we think protect us. Yeah. So there you have it. People watermarking images with shitware and getting past your security protocols and whatnot via those means. Terribly interesting. And as long as we have the value proposition of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies kind of skewed to where cheating with other people's hardware is more profitable than legitimately participating, as long as that's the case, and as long as coins aren't doing anything to inhibit people using other people's hardware illegally, not that I know that they can do anything about it, but if they could, it might help. If they were doing some sort of monitoring or whatnot to verify how the hashing is being performed, how the work is being performed. Like checking what pools it's from or something like that. But then you start getting into having to censor transactions or censoring blocks, and that's down another path that we wouldn't rather avoid going down. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music, and I'm feeling the need for some Red Fang. So here it is, This Animal, here on Coin Metal. I did not realize how obscenely long that song was until after I hit play, and then it was just too late anyway. That was Mastodon, The Last Baron. Very good song, but terribly, terribly, terribly long. Anyway, as far as what we're going to round out with, I got a couple of them on hand here. The next one is something that doesn't seem to go away, and I kind of expect it to continue the longer that the public is not incentivized to mine. And I don't know that it'll actually alter this. I think things like sanctions, embargoes, trade measures taken against certain state actors and the people therein suffering the effects of it, I think that kind of thing is just going to proliferate this type of attack. Simply because it's more fun to fuck with what people really need to work than to actually do anything productive. It's more profitable. It's like, we got all this wonderful shit that we can do with this software, but you don't want it because it'll actually provide value and maybe get rid of some of the loopholes that you're utilizing right now to advantage yourself. However, in the long run, it'll be better for everybody. But no, you don't want it. So I'm going to use it to attack your shit. That's basically what's going on. And so I got this article here on infosecurity-magazine.com. Second Florida city hit by ransomware opts to pay. This is authored on June 26, 2019 by Casey Zerkis. So no penis. Another Florida city has decided to pay a ransom to the hackers who took control over its municipal computer systems. On June 25th, the mayor of Lake City said the northern Florida city would pay hackers $460,000 to regain control of its email and other services that were seized 2 weeks ago, according to CBS 47 Action News, JAX. With the exception of the police and fire departments, the attack has left almost all of the city's computer systems encrypted since the June 10th attack, and Lake City and Riviera Beach are only the latest in a growing list of municipalities that have fallen victim to ransomware. A recently published Mimecast report, The State of Email Security, found that nearly half, 42% of organizations in the public sector, say ransomware has impacted their business operations in the last 12 months, and that 73% of the public sector have experienced 2 to 5 days of downtime as a result. Quote, "The obvious negative to ransom payment is that it makes ransomware even more lucrative and routine. Repeated high-profile successes incentivize criminals to continue using the tactic and open the field to newcomers. Making matters worse, it is relatively rare for the international sources of these crimes to be caught. Investigation and international cooperation is costly and in many cases fall under thresholds that would make them worthwhile to pursue. Leslie Carhart, Principal Threat Analyst, Threat Operations Center at Dragos. Quote, ransom payment, while potentially immediately cheaper than proper disaster recovery planning, is leading us to an ugly Wild West where paying the highwayman is a mandatory part of yearly budgets and insurance policies. This is unfortunate for the victims who can't afford to pay. If paying the ransom becomes a trend, it would likely spur more targeted, well-planned attacks on cities or other defenseless victims, said Ilya Kolochenko, founder and CEO of Immunoweb. Quote, with such lucrative and easy stakes on the table, cyber criminals will now willingly invest to prepare sophisticated, hardly detectable, and well-targeted campaigns. Worse, such cyber criminals are often not able to be investigated due to technical issues and payments in cryptocurrency. It's a paradise for black hats. Yeah, it's been made that way by all kinds of regulations and bullshit. You know, it doesn't surprise me. And in the longer term, I think what we're going to find is that municipalities are going to take their shit a lot more seriously and are going to start storing a lot less information. What has to be understood here is the reason why the attacks are happening. It's not so much that, you know, they're lucrative or whatever. It's because you created something to attack. And worse yet, it's been monetized by entities such as Twitter and Facebook. You know, your personal information, Google. Your personal information becomes a lot because it can be, you know, it could be utilized to access your everything and make your everything somebody else's. And I mean, that's about as scary as it can get. But, you know, I think it's just a misalignment of priorities that we have in our society, where, you know, we've got immense power at our fingertips via the internet, a level of communication with one another that has never been possible before. And yet, it seems that it's really underutilized. You know, that companies and even our municipalities could be seeking help in coding and all kinds of other stuff via social media. Could be saying, hey man, you know, we're having trouble with this. You know, if you wouldn't mind, please, signing on and maybe helping us solve this issue. You know, I think that even paying a minimal amount to people would probably, you know, it enhance their life. You know, people are talking about UBI and all that bullshit. Fuck you. You know, if you can do like 3 or 4 hours of community service online per month, that would probably take care of all what it would cost to pay you UBI and actually generate something of value. You know, I mean, we have the power to represent ourselves directly via the internet. We do not have to rely on representatives. We can provide a means of determining consensus between all of our citizens within a city or a state or a county or a country even, in a very direct way. But, you know, we still rely on these representative systems because somewhere in the gray you can intersect a private interest with a public interest, and people get kickbacks and happy, you know. But there's no motivation to really change that until we see that it's the reasons why these attacks are happening and the way that they're being executed and the success rate that they have is due to this desire to push the public out of the public's interest. Where you get private interests intersecting with public interests, and then the private interest just overpowers the public interest because it's got direct access to our representatives, and we don't. But we have the means to directly interact with our representatives. We have a means to directly interact with our government and the institutions thereof. And it's just not being taken seriously enough, I think. There's this desire to just pawn it off to a third party or some application that does it for you, or AI or a robot or whatever, and cancel out the interface with the humans around you. And sure, it allows for more fuckery. But that's only because you're not listening. If you're not listening to the stimuli you're getting, you're going to get bad responses. That's all there is to it. It's like you're having respiratory problems and you take up smoking cigarettes and you wonder why you got emphysema all of a sudden. Come on. Anyway, let's get back into some articles here. I got this next one, and I'm almost afraid to give it any time, but it's kind of reflecting a little bit of my own suspicions, so I'm going to go for it. And this is on NewYorkTimes.com, NYTimes.com. Regulators have doubts about Facebook cryptocurrency, and so do its partners. Facebook said last week that 27 partners had signed on for its Libra cryptocurrency project, but some of those partners may be less than enthusiastic than others. And this is by Nathaniel Popper, author June 25th, 2019. San Francisco. One of the biggest selling points of Facebook's ambitious plans for its new cryptocurrency Libra was that the social media company had 27 partners, including prominent outfits like Visa, MasterCard, and Uber, helping out on the project. But some of those partners are approaching Libra warily. They signed non-binding agreements to join the effort partly because they knew they weren't obliged to use or promote the digital token and could easily back out if they didn't like where it was going, said executives at 7 of those companies who spoke on the condition of anonymity because of the sensitivity of the negotiations. The doubts among Facebook's partners add to the growing list of challenges for Libra, a new digital token that Facebook executives hope will one day become the foundation for a new kind of online financial industry. Companies are hesitant to associate themselves too closely with the Libra project because of Facebook's issues with regulators around the world, the company's shaky track record on privacy, and how it treats corporate partners, and the uncertain legality of cryptocurrencies. Actually, it's not the uncertainty of the legality of cryptocurrencies, it's the uncertainty of the legality of what they're talking about adding as a quote-unquote cryptocurrency. Continuing on. Though it was announced just last week, the Libra effort has already drawn scrutiny in Washington. Maxine Waters, the chairwoman of the House Financial Services Committee and a Democrat from California, quickly scheduled hearings to examine Libra and told Facebook to stop development of the project until big questions are answered. The House hearing is set for July 17th. The Senate is expected to hold a hearing on the same issue the day before. Jerome H. Powell, chairman of the Federal Reserve, said on Tuesday that the central bank would be looking at Libra, quote, very carefully given its potential scale. I think our expectations from a consumer protection standpoint, from a regulatory standpoint, are going to be very, very high, said Mr. Powell said at an event at the Council on Foreign Relations in New York. European regulators have also asked for more details about the project. Facebook said the 27 partners that it announced last week were giving at least $10 million and joining an association that would govern the Libra cryptocurrency, which is set to be introduced next year. But no money has changed hands so far. A number of partners said they would decide whether to join the association and make the payment after there is more clarity on how Libra will work, the executives from 7 companies said. A Facebook spokesperson, Elka Lux, said in a statement that the company plans to, quote, engage in healthy dialogue and debate with our fellow founding members and welcoming additional members over the coming months. Quote, we know this will take time and it won't be easy, but together we will be able to make the Libra mission a reality, Ms. Lux said. A spokesperson for the Libra Association, Dante Desparte, said that since the announcement last week, the association has heard from a flood of companies interested in being members. He said the association, which will manage Libra, will most likely have a waiting list for those wanting to be among the 100 initial members it hopes to start with next year. Facebook had hoped its partners could help Libra handle some of the critics and give the project some distance from the social networking giant and its recent legal problems. But even before the project began, potential partners had their own concerns. Facebook approached a number of big financial companies, including Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, and Fidelity, about participating in the project, according to 2 people briefed on the discussions. The financial companies declined to join, in part because of regulatory questions about cryptocurrencies, the people said. Actually, conflict of interest on the fact that many of them are already invested in competing products. Press officers for the banks all declined to comment. A spokesperson for Fidelity said the company was continuing to monitor the project. Facebook did manage to sign up 2 big credit card companies, Visa and MasterCard, as partners. But MasterCard was one of the last companies to commit, according to documents shared with other partners that were described to the New York Times. When Libra was announced, MasterCard released a statement from one of its executives expressing support for the initiative, but the statement did not mention Libra by name, and it described the effort as one of many partnerships that MasterCard has joined. Quote, by activating partnerships to explore, co-create, and test new ideas, we can cultivate ideas to make inclusion a reality sooner than some may think, said Jorn Lambert, MasterCard's Executive Vice President for Digital Solutions, in a statement. MasterCard was one of several partners that avoided voicing full-throttled support for Libra after it was unveiled. Some other partners declined Facebook's request to put out news releases and speak with news media outlets about their support for Libra, 4 people briefed on the negotiations said. If Libra succeeds at one of its goals, reducing the cost of making digital payments, it could pose a challenge to partners like MasterCard, Visa, Stripe, and PayPal. But executives at the payment companies said that rather than staying away from Libra, they wanted to have a role in its creation. Partners like Uber or Spotify, which could benefit from lower credit card fees, were more enthusiastic. Now, this is a pretty long article. The largest American cryptocurrency company, Coinbase, was one of Libra's 27 initial partners, but when the partnership was announced internally, several Coinbase employees expressed concern about their company joining forces with a giant company like Facebook with a spotty record on issues that matter to cryptocurrency fans, like privacy, according to the 2 company employees. A spokeswoman for Coinbase declined to comment. Joe Leluz, The chief executive of Bison Trails, another cryptocurrency company that joined Libra as a partner, said that he was also skeptical when Facebook approached him. Quote, "My initial reaction was, you don't have the best track record from a data privacy perspective," Mr. Laluz said in an interview after the announcement. Facebook's reputation around data privacy and being trustworthy is against the crypto ethos. But Mr. Laluz said Facebook had shown that it is serious about protecting the privacy of its users, in part by ensuring that it does not have too much control over the project. Facebook executives said the design of Libra was inspired by the decentralized nature of Bitcoin, with the governance given over to the association, in which Facebook will only have one vote after potential 100 partners. Out of a potential 100 partners. Already they are relinquishing control and ownership over this, which is huge, Mr. Laluz said. The partners are expected to meet in coming months to write a charter that will govern the association. Facebook's history with partners has added to their caution. The game maker Zynga, for example, faced a dramatic loss of revenue after Facebook backed away from a close relationship with the company. Facebook also strained relationships with many publishers last year when it changed the algorithms behind its news feed to de-emphasize news stories. Quote, "This is a huge opportunity, but there are lots of details that still need to be worked out," Mr. Laluz said. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of issues with regard to the Libra, and I can see a lot of issues with regard to state and federal regulatory frameworks. I don't know how. I think there were just too many red flags. I mean, I read the fucking white paper on this show, and it seemed like copy pasta of every single promise that was ever brought up in a cryptocurrency project. I mean, there's elements in there that are promises from proof of stake coins, some from token platforms, some from proof of work coins, all kinds of shit. You know, different governance coins. You know, like I said, it was like they took every single approach in cryptocurrency and said, "Oh, we're going to do it all, and we're going to do it on a blockchain, and everybody's going to be happy with this." And I think that the problem is that we've already been through this multiple times. Those of us who have been here since before the first alt bloom, we've seen this like 8 times now, where some new whiz-bang, thing will come along and people will be talking about it, and all kinds of VC money gets thrown at it, and it turns into shit. But they all had these little promises in them, and this is just like an accumulation of those promises all stuck together. And so, whether or not they're going to face regulatory scrutiny, absolutely. Whether or not they'll face regulatory friction, absolutely. The model that they set out, it sets them up as custodians. That is heavy friction. Issuers of coins, heavy friction. I mean, they just said, okay, what's the most difficult path possible? Let's go ahead and load it up with everything that's in cryptocurrencies, and then try and be regulatory compliant. It's already not going to happen. I'm pretty sure that it's probably going to fall flat on its face. But that's just my assessment. Whether or not it actually comes to fruition, that is yet to be seen. And it is with that I'd like to close out this episode. Thank you very, very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. As far as our last dance is concerned, of course, I have not picked one out yet, but I'm working on it. And, we'll be back again on Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I'd like y'all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And again, our last dance, let's go with a little bit of Go Rod here. The Century, Last Dance here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and you all have an excellent evening. Good night.